This is the Zodiac speaking. Those words would haunt California and eventually the entire world. They appeared in letters, scrawled in uneven handwriting, sometimes accompanied by strange symbols and cryptic ciphers that promised answers but delivered only fear. For more than half a century, the name Zodiac has become synonymous with terror, mystery, and a puzzle no one has ever solved. The story begins quietly, on a cold night in December 1968. It was the holiday season, a time for warmth and family, but for two young high school students, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, it was a night meant for young love. They drove to Lake Herman Road, a lover's lane nestled in the shadows of Vallejo, California. The wind was sharp, the sky clear, stars glittering like distant diamonds. For David and Betty Lou, the world must have felt small and safe in that moment. But safety was an illusion. At some point during their evening together, another car pulled up behind them. The details of what followed can only be pieced together from shell casings and bodies on the ground. The attacker, calm, deliberate, stepped out of his vehicle, approached their car, and opened fire. David was shot in the head. Betty Lou fled in panic, but bullets tore through the night air, striking her 5 times in the back. By the time authorities arrived, both were dead. The police collected evidence: 22 caliber shell casings, footprints, tire tracks, but no fingerprints, no eyewitnesses, no motive, just silence. The murders barely registered beyond local headlines. Lovers' Lane killings were tragic but not unprecedented. Nobody knew that this was the opening act of a grim performance that would stretch across years and capture the public imagination in the most horrifying way. 7 months later, the killer returned. It was July 4, 1969, Independence Day. Fireworks exploded above Vallejo, but in a quiet corner of Blue Rock Springs Park, 22-year-old Darlene Ferrin and 19-year-old Mike Mageau sat in a parked car. Their laughter, their small talk, their sense of normalcy, all about to shatter. At around midnight, another vehicle pulled up. Its headlights briefly illuminated the inside of their car before going dark. A man stepped out, approached, and without warning, unleashed a storm of bullets from a 9mm Luger. The killer fired into the car, reloaded, and fired again. Mike writhed in agony, but survived. Darlene was hit multiple times. She would not make it. An hour later, the phone rang at the Vallejo Police Department. A calm male voice reported the crime in chilling detail. "I want to report a double murder. If you go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway, you will find kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." The call was traced to a phone booth near the police station. The voice, cold and detached, belonged to the man who would soon introduce himself to the world as Zodiac. A month later, on August 1, 1969, 3 newspapers received nearly identical letters. Each began with a demand. "I want you to print this cipher on the front page of your paper. If you do not, I will go on a kill rampage." Inside each envelope was a piece of the same puzzle, a cryptogram of 408 symbols. The writer claimed it would reveal his identity. He signed each letter with a strange symbol, a circle with a cross through it, the Zodiac sign. The newspapers complied, running the ciphers as front-page stories. Curiosity became hysteria as amateur sleuths and professional cryptographers raced to break the code. Days later, a school teacher and his wife cracked it. The solution was a chilling manifesto. "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all. When I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and all the people I have killed will become my slaves." The letter ended with a taunt. "I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for my afterlife." The media frenzy intensified. Who was this killer? Why did he seem to crave attention as much as blood? The murders continued, each more brazen than the last. In September 1969, college students Brian Hartnell, and Cecilia Shepard were enjoying a lakeside picnic at Lake Berryessa when a man emerged from the trees wearing an executioner-style hood marked with the Zodiac symbol. He held them at gunpoint, bound them with clothesline, and then, in a sudden frenzy, stabbed them repeatedly. Brian survived. Cecilia died 2 days later. Before leaving, the killer scrawled a message on the victim's car door. The date, a list of previous murders, and his ominous signature. 2 weeks later, the Zodiac struck again, this time in San Francisco's bustling Presidio Heights neighborhood. Paul Stein, a 29-year-old cab driver, picked up a fare. Minutes later, he was shot in the head. The killer wiped down the cab, tore a bloody piece of Stein's shirt, and vanished into the night. Children on a nearby street watched him walk away. Witness descriptions were clear. A stocky white male, glasses, crew cut, about 35 to 45 years old. Soon, the Chronicle received another letter, this time with a grisly souvenir. A fragment of Paul Stein's blood-stained shirt. The writer mocked police, threatened schoolchildren, and claimed responsibility for more murders. His arrogance was intoxicating and infuriating to law enforcement. He wrote, "The police shall never catch me, because I have been too clever for them." The letters kept coming, each more bizarre than the last. Zodiac sent ciphers, diagrams of bomb designs, and taunts directed at detectives. Some messages included cryptic references to films, literature, and astrology. He even called into a live TV show once, demanding that a famous lawyer, Melvin Belli, come on air. Each communication deepened the mystery and the terror. Schools installed extra security. Parents kept their children home. The Bay Area was gripped by fear. And yet, despite the panic, the Zodiac vanished as suddenly as he appeared. After 1,974, the letters stopped, or at least the authenticated ones did. Rumors of Zodiac resurfacing would pop up in later decades. But the original reign of terror had ended. What remained was a trail of blood, a stack of letters, and questions that still linger in every shadow of American true crime history. Who was the Zodiac Killer? Dozens of suspects have emerged over the years. The most famous is Arthur Lee Allen, a former schoolteacher whose life eerily paralleled some details in the letters. He owned the same type of weapons, wore a Zodiac watch, and even told acquaintances he wanted to kill people. Police searched his home twice, but handwriting analysis and fingerprints didn't match. DNA tests decades later seemed to rule him out. Other names surfaced: Rick Marshall, a film enthusiast obsessed with codes; Lawrence Kane, who lived near victims and had a shady past; and more recently, Gary Francis Post, identified by a cold case team in 2021. They pointed to scars on Post's forehead, matching police sketches, and claimed they had forensic evidence. But the FBI said the case remains open, and nothing is conclusive. Forensic science offered hope in the 2000s, as investigators extracted partial DNA from Zodiac's letters. But contamination and degradation complicated the process. Still, technology marches on. Genealogical databases that caught the Golden State Killer might someday unmask Zodiac if enough viable DNA exists. Meanwhile, his ciphers continued to fascinate codebreakers. One, known as the 340 cipher, resisted every attempt for 51 years until a team cracked it in 2020. The decoded message wasn't a confession, just another taunt. "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner." Half a century later, Zodiac remains more than a name. He is a specter, a symbol of evil that hides in plain sight. Perhaps he died decades ago, carrying his secrets to the grave. Perhaps he lived an ordinary life, blending in while the world obsessed over his shadow. Or perhaps, in the darkest corners of California, someone still remembers those nights and smiles. The Zodiac didn't just kill people, he killed certainty. He murdered trust, shredded the illusion of safety, and left behind an unsolved riddle that mocks every attempt at closure. In his own words, written in shaky letters half a century ago, "This is the Zodiac speaking. and the world is still listening.